What's up, friends? Hope you're having a fantastic day. I wanted to make a quick video talking about something that I have changed on this 2025 Transition Sentinel that has made a huge difference in the ride feel of the bike. And that is this puppy right here, Rockshox Vivid Ultimate Air. This bike came stock with the Rockshox Super Deluxe Ultimate, which is a great shock. And I have run that shock on several previous bikes, but I wasn't quite meshing with it on this bike. And the reason for that is I was having a hard time getting the bike to feel balanced back to front. I feel like with that shock, it was so dependent on getting the PSI perfect so that I wasn't getting like pitched forward, or if I had too little PSI, feeling like I was slouched back in the bike. So yeah, man, I was playing with that shock for a long time. I've never had that issue with that shock on any other bike, but for whatever reason on this bike, I just could not get it to feel balanced and predictable the way I wanted. So yeah, in comes the Rockshox Vivid Air. This is an air shock, but it's got a larger air volume, and so similar to like the Fox X2, that larger air canister allows for more of a supple feel off the top. It's also got an insane level of adjustability. So on this ride here, I'm just going to talk about some of the things that I've loved about this shock and how it has kind of transformed the ride feel of this bike in a good way, for me at least. Thanks for watching, and here we go. Alright, so let's talk about some of the key features of this Rockshox Vivid Ultimate Air Shock. So the damper on this shock is what they're calling the Touchdown RC2T damper. They say that this damper is very supple off the top of the stroke, and then more supportive in the mid-stroke, and then the hydraulic bottom out kicks in the last 20% of travel for more controlled landings. The adjustable hydraulic bottom out is pretty cool. It's got a 5-position dial to kind of tune in how much damping you want in that last 20% of the stroke. So this really allows you to fine-tune the bottom out feel of your bike, whether you want it to be softer or more progressive as it ramps up towards the end of the stroke. The shock has high and low speed compression, as well as rebound. I'm a huge fan of higher volume air shocks like this one because that larger volume offers a little better sensitivity over small bumps. So, you know, the cliche saying is that it gives you a coil-like feel. So I like that sensitivity, but what I love about air shocks is just how dang adjustable they are, and you can really fine-tune all the high and low speed compression and rebound settings. It's super easy to change your PSI in the shock, so, you know, obviously coil shock feels fantastic, but it can be a little bit of a hassle to go through different spring weights and try to figure out exactly what you want your coil shock to feel like. But this offers a little bit more plushness and sensitivity out of an air shock, getting you a little closer into that coil territory, but with a lot more adjustability and ease of use. The service interval for this shock is about 100 hours, and they do have e-bike approved versions of this shock available. This shock also has tokens or volume reducers, so you can reduce the air volume a little bit with these tokens and make the bike feel a bit more progressive.
Woo! That was cool.
So I've been riding this Sentinel with the Rockshox Vivid Ultimate Air Shock for a couple months now, and the difference was pretty immediately noticeable. The first thing I noticed was a bit more plushness and small bump sensitivity off the top, and that's due to the shock's larger air volume. So I feel like the bike just kind of tracks the ground better now, especially on those quick repetitive hits and just trail chatter. You just get a little bit more traction and feeling a little bit more in control, especially when things get loose or really fast. Another thing I noticed is how the bike just feels more balanced. Like I mentioned at the start of the video, when I had the Rockshox Super Deluxe Ultimate Shock, the rear end just felt a little bit harsher, and it felt like I had to get the PSI just perfect so that I wasn't getting pitched forward or like slung too far back on the bike. So yeah, something about this Vivid just has helped this bike feel a lot more balanced to me. The bike just feels a little bit more in sync from front to back, which gives me a lot more confidence. I really like the way that this shock ramps up. Right now I have 2 tokens or volume reducers in, and I feel like it ramps up very smoothly. It's not harsh or sudden, and then I've got 2 clicks on the hydraulic bottom out, which for me has felt fantastic. I feel like it's very predictable and smooth in that last 20% of the travel. I love the hydraulic bottom out and the ability to adjust that last 20% of the travel, because you can get that smooth ramp up at the last bit of travel without feeling like you're just hitting a wall. So I ride a pretty wide range of trails, and so I need a shock that does well in everything. There are certain shocks that are ultra sensitive, but then just kind of blow through the travel and don't have as much support at the mid or end stroke. There are other shocks that are very supportive in the mid stroke, but then are not very sensitive. And then there are shocks that are extremely progressive, ramp up quickly, and feel like you're hitting a wall at times. So I just love this shock because I feel like it can do all of those things really well. When I'm riding technical trails or loose trails with rocks and bumps and roots and loose sections, a lot of repetitive hits, I appreciate that sensitivity that just keeps the tire hugging the ground and keeps things feeling very planted and traction rich. It's also got a very smooth and predictable mid-stroke, which is helpful when pushing and pumping into the bike, trying to generate speed and pop off things. And then, yeah, that hydraulic bottom out, that last 20% of the stroke that I can really fine tune and get to feel great when I'm going off big jumps or drops. So overall, this is, in my opinion, one of the best shocks out there, and it can excel at everything once you get it fine tuned to your riding style and your individual frame. So overall, compared to the stock Super Deluxe, the Vivid just feels more refined to me. I feel like it unlocks this Sentinel a little bit more. So hey, I am not sponsored by Rockshox in any way, and you know, I think a lot of this comes down to your riding style, but for me, the bike has felt more plush, it's felt more smooth, it's felt more predictable and balanced, and it's also felt like a more supportive and predictable ramp up at the end of travel. So that just adds up to me feeling more confident and composed out on my bike. If you have an aggressive trail or an enduro bike or a downhill bike, and you're feeling like the shock just isn't quite doing the frame justice, then this Rockshox Vivid Ultimate Air might be what you're looking for. So that about wraps it up for this video. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like, hit that subscribe button. Be sure to check out my discounts down in the description below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.
Wow. Okay. I'm good. I'm good. Had a little too much speed. Got bucked. Kicked the back end up too high. Whew.